Hello, all you scaredy cats and kittens, and welcome to the Two Scaredy Cats podcast, where we talk about all things strange, unusual, and paranormal. We're your hostess with the mostest. I'm Stacy.
And I'm Kara.
So, Kara, did you do anything fun or interesting this weekend, by any chance?
I had a photo shoot in Otherworld this weekend.
Oh, yeah? And how'd that go?
I mean, it went well, other than some interesting things that happened, but, just people being weird.
Yeah, well, during these times, everybody's a little weird anymore about stuff. And then
Yeah.
with all these new mask things, like everything going away and people get all up in arms about stuff.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
Otherworld's a pretty cool thing if you haven't checked it out. It's in Columbus. It's like an art exhibition, like an exhibit thing. But I don't even know how to describe it, but it's just it kind of brings you into another world. A lot of cool... If you like crypto stuff, there's a lot cryptozoology stuff. There's cool creatures and stuff. They added this really weird room with a giant cow statue, and you can rub its udders and it makes weird sounds depending on what.
It's a very
told you
this
it's
place
weird.
is really cool. I've been there before too. It's a very immersive experience. So you actually get to do all kinds of cool things in each room. They have different areas you can explore, and things you can touch, and different tunnels and doors and stuff that take you to other areas in the building. It's really neat. You should check it out if you have the chance.
Definitely go during a weekday during the day, so you don't have a million annoying children running around being obnoxious.
I agree with that sentiment. Yeah, otherwise you've got children running all over everywhere because parents sometimes don't keep an eye on their children.
And it just gets super crowded, and
it's hard to enjoy it when you have so many people stuffed in the tiny space.
Yeah, when you have to deal with 50 people.
Yeah.
I normally because you kind of just can walk around and go anywhere. I try and avoid the high traffic rooms.
Yeah, there's no real special
a lot of people
way
just congregate.
Yeah, they'll especially
people
if there's one area
and they'll all loiter.
Yeah,
that normally the main pathways.
Yeah, there was that one cool
the tree room.
Yeah, the other room really is busy. That Space Invader room. Do they still have that there? That was really cool, where you could play Space Invaders on the ceiling, but you had to use
if you shoot
them. And you'd step on circles on the floor and it would shoot for you. That was really cool. But it's very immersive and really neat. Although if you have any types of sensitivity to loud noises or lights and stuff like that.
Yeah. If you have sensory issues, be careful. I would definitely go. But because I started having really bad sensory issues. The acoustics in the main lobby are terrible. So I was just getting so overwhelmed by all of the sounds. The actual rooms themselves are fine. It's just when there are a bunch of people there, it's just too much. I had to just go home and just lay in bed after. It was
Jake
just a lot.
Would not do well in that room in that place at all.
I don't think he could. I could barely. I could after I hit. It was 3 o'clock, and I was I cannot be in here anymore.
Yeah,
it is. I am hit my limit.
It's intense if you have sensory issues.
If you have sensory issues,
you should go there. It's not for you.
Be careful and come prepared, and I would definitely go during the week.
And try to go in the morning because what we found is once the day goes on, it tends to pick up more and it gets more crowded. In the morning, you'll have more time to roam freely and not have a lot of people.
It's not as bad if there's not as many people, but you have to add the people and the lights and stuff. It just gets too much.
But it's a neat place, and if you can handle, if you don't have any sensory issues, definitely check it out. I thought it was awesome. It was really neat. And lots of neat art stuff to look at if you're I'm into art and all that, so I found it really cool. Very neat.
Yeah, they're all local artists, and they do installation pieces, so it's pretty cool.
Very immersive.
But yeah, definitely check out that.
Yep, me and your daddy at this really cool place this weekend. Okay, it's some beer house place. I forget if there's like a German name for it. Can't pronounce it, and I'm not gonna try to. But anyway, the deal there is you actually get your food served on a hot stone that's like at 700 degrees, and you cook your food, your steak or your shrimp or whatever you get at the table in front of you. It was really cool. So that was fun. We did that this weekend. It was a neat experience. I would definitely go back again. Very neat. It was good. I got steak and Dad got steak, and then we also got some shrimp. Very good. But that's what we did this weekend. So, I guess we need to go ahead and get started. I guess I will go first, since mine's kind of related to a holiday that's coming up in the next week or so here. I'm doing mine on Banshees, which are from Ireland, and St. Patrick's Day is coming up on the 17th. I thought it would be kind of neat to tie in with this kind of cryptid folklore creature.
Yeah, Banshees.
So Banshees are basically women of the fairy mound, is what their actual name translates to. And like I said when I was talking before, they are from Irish folklore. They are usually, almost always, female spirits who herald the death of a family member. And the way they do this is by wailing or screaming extremely loudly and painfully. Or shrieking, or as they call it in Ireland, it's called kerning. I've never heard that before, but that's what they call it, is kerning. The scream that they have is called the cane, which also means keening, like I told you, and it is a warning that there will be an immediate death in the family. And basically, these banshees are the disembodied spirits, and they're said to be of a fairy origin, and they can appear in several forms. A lot of times, the families, in the beginning, banshees only appeared to the families of the very there's like 4 popular families back then, and each family had their own banshee. But as time went on, the women of the family would marry into a different family, so their name would change, so they would get their own banshees. So eventually you had all these families that had banshees, and it was just one banshee dedicated to the whole family. Yeah, it's kind of really weird and messed up. Yeah, that you get your own banshee. Now, sometimes they said, though, that the banshee was actually a family, like an original member of that family, and that she comes back to kind of watch over that family, and then she'll be the bearer of, things to come, of somebody dying or whatever. Anyway, like I said, there's several different ways or forms that they appear in. The first type of way that you might see the banshee, she will present themselves as a beautiful woman, and she'll be wearing a shroud, like she's in mourning, which makes sense because that's the whole point of them visiting somebody, is to let them know that somebody is either dead or about ready to die. The second way that they might appear to somebody is a pale woman in a white dress with red hair. This is usually the way most people will see her. Actually, these last 2 are the 2 most prominent ways that most people will see her. So you'll see her, like I said, as a pale woman. She looks like she's never seen the sun in days. And she has on this, pretty white dress, and then she'll have the red hair. And then the last way, and this is usually a banshee that is very angry with her family and has like an axe to grind with them. And she will appear as an old woman with scary red eyes. She'll be wearing a green dress, and she has long white hair. And they say her eyes are red because she'd been crying so much, and that's why they have that red appearance, if that makes any sense. They say that this form, this last one that I told you about, is usually the most scariest form of them all. And that, like I said, that one is basically reserved when the banshee is upset with the family members, and that's why she appears that way. So the origin of a banshee begins in the 8th century, where women would sing a sorrowful song to recognize somebody's death. And according to mythology, if she is spotted, she will vanish in a cloud of mist, and it makes a noise like a bird flapping. And that's why over the years there have been sightings, or people have talked about, like, that's why they think that she's like a winged creature, because they hear that flapping noise. So they think that banshees have wings, but that's not really true. So basically that noise is just from the mist and when she like vanishes into thin air. Legends say that banshees don't cause death. They're not allowed to cause death. They're only there to warn of the death.
Oh.
So they're not like evil in the way, in terms of that, they can actually kill you. But and recently in a lot of pop culture now, they have turned like banshees to be these like evil creatures that will kill you with their screams and shrieks and that and they make you go insane. That is not technically what a true banshee is, and that's not true. That's false. Oh. So anyway, so as you kind of gather from what I've been saying, banshees can either be good or bad. Good banshees are the ones that have strong ties to their families, and they still watch over them in death. So when the banshees will appear to their family members, they are usually the beautiful women that sing these beautiful, soulful, and haunting songs. Now, here's the interesting thing. Only the person that will die can hear the banshee.
Oh, that's interesting.
And when she's this way. Right. Only they can hear this. And they can only hear the song that she's singing. Nobody else can hear that song. All they will hear when that person dies is her screeching. The song can be heard a few days before the death of the family member, and like I said, is mostly only heard by the person who will die. Now, bad banshees. These are the ones that you really don't want to mess with or meet or, have pissed off at you. So the bad banshees are women that during their lives hated their families because something happened, like their families might have been excommunicated them or for whatever reason. And so they will appear to them, as I told you, a frighteningly scary looking creature, and they're filled with hatred. The howls from these banshees is very chilling. It's not beautiful like the other banshees that love their family still. And instead of warning the family, they are very they're celebrating the death of the family member that they've come to let their family know about. So that's why they have this like it's almost like a gleeful kind of, screech, versus the other ones. It's more like like a sad one. So banshees are rarely seen, but always heard. You can hear her morning call, and it always happens at nighttime, apparently, when they let you know that somebody's going to die. It is also said that if several banshees appear at one time, it means that the person was a person of greatness, like a king, or a holy person, like a priest or a pope, and it means that they have died. So that's really all. Oh, and there are also like mounds that are found all over the Irish landscape, and it's believed that these mounds are where the banshee resides. And so when somebody dies or whatever, she'll come out of that and then go to wherever she needs to go. But yeah, that's basically all I have about banshees.
It's pretty cool. Banshee is actually it's a ghost type in Phasmophobia, that ghost hunting game I play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
when I was reading, they said that she is actually considered in several different cultures. She's got a different name, but it's the same kind of deal.
Yeah. Well, like Phasmophobia has a bunch of different like ghost types, and that's like one, and it singles one target in the game, and basically.
Well, that makes sense. Does she scream at him and kill him?
It can be heard on a special microphone. You can hear her singing, which is kind of cool.
Interesting.
Yeah, I was like, oh, because Yurei was also a ghost type in the game.
Yeah.
Ideas.
Isn't that weird how all these things kind of go together?
Yeah. But I'm going to be talking about Bigfoot today.
Ooh, Bigfoot. That's a good cryptid.
He's a cryptid.
To talk about.
We're going to be learning about Bigfoot and how he became prevalent in the U.S. specifically.
Cool.
But yeah, Bigfoot, also known as Sasquatch, which roughly it comes from a specific word that means wild man. So I don't know if you've heard, but like before he was deemed Bigfoot, they would call him a wild man. It's basically a large ape-like creature said to inhabit the forests of North America. He is referred to as Bigfoot because of the large footprints they leave. There are many variations of the Bigfoot mythos, and even subcategories of types of Bigfoots, because there's a skunk man, which is interesting.
Yes, I've heard of that. But he smells really bad. They
yeah,
say.
that
You
one.
can know
But
when
like I
he's there
say,
'cause he
there's like
stinks.
they've like seen different kinds, or like,
Huh?
but yeah,
Isn't that weird?
yes. Specifically, I'm gonna be covering the North America sightings and like some of the earlier sightings of him and when he kind of like became more prevalent. So, July 11th, 1771, Daniel Boone reported that he shot and killed a Yahoo, is what he called it, a race of 10 feet tall hairy giants. Yahoo probably comes from the Cherokee term Yahoo, but I think he basically mispronounced the term.
Okay.
But yeah, because you were talking about how you mentioned that around the Boone Woods, right?
Yeah,
that's where he's at, right?
Little
Daniel Boone.
Yeah,
he
was
specifically
all over,
mentioned
like,
Kentucky,
our whole area down there.
But he nicknamed or Boone County. That's what he's named after.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, that's because he traveled all through there.
But yeah, in Kentucky, one of the first sort of noted, like, actually, I think it was in either a diary or something he wrote. February 10th, 1811, the first set of Sasquatch footprints were found by David Thompson, a British explorer. He found 14-inch tracks with long claws or toenails. And then, in 1814, native Cree people spoke of a hairy giant called the Monsukin that would harass them. The creature reportedly would scream and throw rocks and hit trees with large sticks.
That's funny because you know what? I was watching Chasing Bigfoot or whatever that show is on Discovery Channel or whatever. And they were talking about how like they were trying to hunt one down and trap it. And you could hear like they found one and he was like hiding and you could hear him throwing rocks and sticks and stuff at him to help
that seems like a thing happens
keep
often.
them away from him. That's crazy that's what they still do today as a form of,
that's one of like the big thing is that they'll throw stuff at you.
Huh.
In 1829, there was a report of a Bigfoot attacking men in the I'm going to butcher this name. Okefenokee swamp in the middle of the night. A wild animal charged the camp and they shot the creature with 7 rifles and it did kill the creature, but when they examined it, they found it to be 13 feet tall and it was still alive men basically fled and left the others who had died because people died from this and because they were afraid that another might show up and then the area still gets sightings of footprints and sightings today. So
too bad they didn't drag that body with them though, so we could at least see if Bigfoot
I know that's
exists.
the thing. In 1840, Elkin Walker, a preacher, when visiting Washington, he noted the locals believed in a Sasquatch. A Sasquatch is what they would call it. An 8-foot-tall creature with long arms that lived in the woods. In 1864, Harvard researcher George Gibbs was one of the first to document the indigenous people belief in Bigfoot. In 1869, Ohioan wild man news. You've heard about the Ohio wild man?
Yes.
But yeah, there was a news article about a wild man is published. Here's like an actual thing from the news article. The wild man is said to be a giant in stature and to roam without a stitch of clothing on his body. As fleet as the wind and lithe as the deer, he has so far outdistanced and swifted hounds that have been put on his trail by their masters. Some men all but cornered him last night, but were afraid to tackle him. He tore up a handful of grass and munched it while the hunters were in view and then ran away. Okay. So he just started picking up grass and eating.
Yeah, and eating it in front of him. All right, yum.
Yeah.
Now, when did you say this happened? 1960 or
1869?
Oh, 1860.
That's like wild.
Okay,
like old.
Okay. Yeah. I thought you said 1960.
No, but they're still like Ohio and like the Ohio wild man sightings.
Oh yeah, I know, but I can't remember.
But under different names. But yeah,
wow.
But I know that's what I was saying. I was like kind of crazed by how like early some of these spottings are.
Yeah.
September 4th, 1924, Mount St. Helens, there was a complaint from a prospector to a forest ranger that in the middle of the night, stones were thrown at his cabin. After investigating, he found a bunch of Sasquatches outside screaming like apes.
What?
He hid under his bed Yes, this is crazy. He hid under his bed all night, and in the morning, he found Bigfoot prints all around.
Oh, wow, that's scary. Huh.
That is kind of scary. Mount St. Helens apparently has a lot of Bigfoot sightings, because I saw some other sightings there, too.
Huh.
This one is, like, kind of the creepier one. So, 1941, Ruby Creek. You might have
I've heard
of
of Ruby
very
Creek
famous
before.
One. It's the oldest Chapman's son. He was 9 years old. He comes inside to tell his mom a cow was approaching the house. But he was very distraught, so the mom was like, that's kind of sus. So Jeannie Chapman goes outside to investigate. Jeannie Chapman then saw a gigantic man with 4-inch long hair, and the creature was watching them from up a hill.
Creepy.
The creature started walking towards them, and then the mother and her children were able to run away and hide into... They, basically went around the side of the building and head into town.
Huh.
3 hours later, Mr. Chapman, the husband, returned from his job, and the place was completely covered in Bigfoot tracks. And then there was, a shed of theirs that was, destroyed and opened.
Huh.
And, basically... bunch of damages that was done. Mr. Chapman was able to find his family, thankfully, because he kind of freaked out because his family was missing.
Right,
and,
I get it.
He returned with some other men from town to investigate to see what's going on. The Bigfoot continued to harass and show up around 2 a.m. each night, causing the dogs to go wild because they had some dogs inside.
Huh.
And they end up moving off the property after a week because they no longer felt safe there. Because every night, little man is coming around. Yeah. In 1958, Andrew Genzoli of the Humboldt Times published an article about mysterious large footprints. To his surprise, the readers were very interested in the article and published a follow-up article about the footprints, reporting the name given as Bigfoot. This is where the Bigfoot name was coined. 1958, it was in that thing.
Huh.
The Humboldt. But yeah, that's when Bigfoot became an actual term referring to the creature.
Yeah.
Although people were already referring to it, but that was the first published name of it. In 1962, in the Rocky Mountains... Oh, Bigfoot... So in 1962, there was a Rocky Mountain Bigfoot footage. This was before the iconic Patterson-Gimlin footage was filmed. It was recorded by a dad accompanying a Boy Scout troop. And the creature was basically seen jumping from rock to rock, but it looks like it looks over its back, kind of at the camera at one point. I looked at the film; it's very, very old. Obviously, it's 1962, but it was technically 5 years before the Patterson-Gimlin footage, which happened in 1967. The iconic Patterson-Gimlin footage is filmed. Everyone knows about that. I feel like it's the one where he's walking through the forest and he looks over his shoulder and he keeps going. And people still argue about that footage today if it's real
because
or not.
He looked over his shoulder.
Because of the proportions and the way he moved. People really break that down.
Yeah, people have too much time on their hands, honestly.
But yes, in 1972, May 25th, over 200 people in a week reported seeing a dark gray-haired ape, a 7-foot-tall near Coal Hollow. This is the largest sighting of single Bigfoot. 200 reports of the same creature within a week is crazy.
Yeah, that's a lot. Holy moly.
Yeah. And then 1978, this is also in Ohio, of course. Minerva Monster. Have you heard of this? In a small town in Ohio, some children, they ran inside to tell their grandparents about a hairy monster they saw in the gravel pit outside. The couple went outside to investigate and saw what the children described. Other sightings occurred they kept seeing this creature that would keep popping up. And one of the more disturbing sightings was when they heard the dog outside whining and barking infrequently, but abruptly stopped. Upon investigation, the dog's neck had been snapped and blood trailing into the woods.
Aww.
So, it's pretty scary stuff.
Huh.
But yeah, that's what I have about Bigfoot.
Yeah, you gotta break it down into chunks.
I feel like it's such a big topic. Yeah. And I want to talk about some of the other Yeah, I was like, wait, I feel I couldn't do too much, but that was basically kind of like how his name came out, and a lot of sightings I had never heard about. Like, I'd never heard of the Minerva
those
monster.
earlier ones, I'd not heard any of those.
So I thought it was really interesting, and because I was always worried.
And that Daniel
Bigfoot,
Boone actually knew who he was. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Or that one of the first sightings that people say happened was, Daniel Boone. Or recorded sightings, because apparently a lot of the indigenous people around they had like a term for it and everything. So, but a lot of that was like spoken word, so it's hard to like write down. A lot of their like stories and stuff are passed down by like storytelling. But,
right. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I have on Bigfoot today.
Cool.
But if you enjoyed our podcast today, follow us on Instagram at Two Scaredy Cats Podcast, and please be sure to leave a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It really helps the show get discovered. And tune in 2 weeks for a new episode. And to all our scaredy cats and kittens out there, remember, curiosity didn't kill these two scaredy cats.